Today I'm in Los Angeles for the exhibition of Hans Holbein at the Getty Museum. Hans Holbein, also known as Hans Holbein the Younger, was born in 1497 and he's known for his portraits. The exhibition opens up with a portrait he did of Erasmus. Erasmus had many fans and they wanted to know what he looked like, so he had this portrait done, and I think it was small so he could send it through the mail and so his fans could see what he looked like. Erasmus was the man who introduced Hans Holbein to Thomas More and Henry VIII's court. Here's another portrait. I'm not going to identify all the subjects, but I will identify many of them. The room is kind of dark here at the Getty, obviously to preserve the quality of the colors and the paintings. In the post-production here, I did bump up the exposure so that you could see things much better. So you'll excuse me if they're not exactly accurate to the originals. There are many excellent, superior drawings by Holbein here. Here's one of them. There are several portraits of poets, and this is the French poet Nicolas Bourbon. Here's another Hans Holbein. It's very simple and straightforward. He's great with the hands also. He does a great face and the great hands, and there's always such great eye contact. The people is the sitters have such great elegance and confidence. Now, in these larger portraits, the sitters are looking straight out to the viewer, and in some of the other Holbeins, the sitter is three-quarter profile, looking away from the viewer. Now, there is an issue that some people have brought out, like David Hockney, whether these portraits are so realistic. Were they done with optical devices? Holbein is a superior painter, but I do believe that some of this could have been done with optics because the precision, it's so difficult to paint with this kind of precision. And I recommend you look at a book by Hockney called Secret Knowledge where he discusses this. Now, here's a portrait by Jan Gossart, who is a contemporary, and for me, it's not quite as elegant as a Hans Holbein. It's a kind of busy here in his chest area, but the face is certainly exquisite. Here's another Gossart, and the expression in the eyes is not quite as elegant and as beautiful as a Hans Holbein. Also, in this Gossart painting, like there's a busyness to this chest, like right here where he's got that red ribbon and around his neck and his hands. It's a little bit gaudy there. Hans Holbein wouldn't do that. Hans Holbein is about simplicity and elegance. Now here's one by Quentin Massey's of just a funny, beautiful picture of these tax collectors, and it's just so well done. I've seen this before in print, and I'm so happy to see the original. It's absolutely a masterpiece. Tax Collectors by Quentin Massey's. He just does the expressions, the arrogance of the man on the left with his jewel in his top, and this guy is just so cruel, and his warped mouth and his asymmetric eyes. It's just so well done. You know, these two guys, they enjoy watching you squirm while they take your money and treating you with contempt. If you take art history, they'll tell you about the significance of these scissors and candles. Let's return back to some of the Holbein drawings. This one is kind of loose. You can see it's very tightly done on the face, but the clothing is kind of loose, which makes it seem like it was kind of traced using an optical device. Apparently, Henry VIII collected these drawings, and that's why they survived, because they were in the royal collection. The freshness is just genius. Here we have Henry Howard, Earl of Surrey. And he was a poet. This is a man with a hawk, and the Getty points out how they examined this with x-rays, and they could see how Hans Holbein had made some changes while he was making the painting. Note how the expression is just more relaxed and intimate than the Gossart painting and the Quentin Massey's painting. They're just interesting people. You know, and look at the whiskers on this guy's beard. This is Sir Thomas Wyatt. He was another poet in King Henry VIII's court. And at one time he was put in prison, and you would think he didn't hold much offense towards King Henry VIII, but his son did, and he was one of the perpetrators of the Wyatt Rebellion. If you're a portrait painter and you're getting this kind of detail, you have to get up within 4 inches of the subject's face. And a person in Henry VIII's court is not going to let you get that close to them. But you could do it with lenses and mirrors. You know, one thing about Hans Holbein is there was a lot of drama going on in Henry VIII's reign, and Hans Holbein seems to was a king's favorite painter, and he seems to have been able to survive through all the executions and all the Trumpian tantrums of King Henry VIII. Hans Holbein is known for his portraits of King Henry VIII, but none of those portraits are included in this exhibition, and I'm happy that King Henry VIII was not allowed to enter the building. Here's a portrait of Thomas Cromwell, who was later executed by King Henry VIII. When I compare his portrait to some of the other portraits of people who have such gentle expressions, and he's so serious and burdened by the affairs of his office, You know, he's actually seems like he's looking away from the Hans Holbein while his portrait is being painted. This is a smaller painting that is owned by the Getty, and the man is riding a horse, and the Latin title is Desire Carries Me Along. One thing you notice about Hans Holbein is that he does such a great job matching the hands to the face. The hands always enhance the face and make the whole thing come together. Let's take one final look at some of these pictures we've already seen. It's just so enjoyable to be inside this gallery. Now, this is the monograph that goes with the exhibit, and I used to buy these mainly for the plates. I would never buy them for the prose inside because it's so boring. I couldn't stand it. I think that the Getty, when they do these monographs, they should have a scholarly version for the scholars and a literary version for the enthusiasts. This is the lady with a squirrel. Back to some of the ones we've seen, just to look at these drawings, more detail. Little jittery here. I'm holding this camera with my hand. This is a portrait of Richard Southwell, another loyalist to Henry VIII, who's very close to him. Another example of a Henry VIII close advisor who's very serious in his expression. Look at the spontaneity of the buttons on this coat. So that wraps it up here in Los Angeles at the Getty Museum, and I want to thank you for watching.